Goodness, there's so many people on stage, I can't even find a place to get on. Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight?
Great.
I think you can do better than that, don't you think? How are you doing tonight? What a great evening to start off the Music in the Park series, and always got to start off with the Phantom Regiment. Beautiful weather. If I was still in the business, I'd give kudos to the weather guy, but I'm not, so the heck with it. We have a few things we want to tell you about the Phantom Regiment. We're going to introduce you to a few members of the Corps this evening. They have a wonderful 2015 show that we'll be getting to a little bit later on. But I do want to point out, we're going to tell you about some of the upcoming shows, but you definitely want to mark on your calendars this Saturday, because they'll be doing their dress rehearsal. You get to see them in the standstill tonight, but then you get to see the full effect of the show, free of charge, this Saturday evening at 8:30 at Stillman Valley High School. It's usually held on a Sunday, so don't be fooled. It's been moved up one day. We're going to have it on this Saturday evening, June 13th. In addition to that, we have some very special guests we'll introduce you to, and I think you're in for a wonderful, wonderful evening. Enjoy yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to point out a couple of things this evening. The selections that are performed on tonight's concert were arranged by Christian Carrickner, Rob Ferguson, Don Hill, Brett Kuhn, Derek Shannon, Paul Murtha, and J.D. Shaw. The next two selections you're going to hear: Ave Maria by Franz Beidel, used in the 2006 summer production, as well as the Washington Post March by John Philip Sousa. Ladies and gentlemen, Phantom Regiment. give special recognition to the conductors for this evening, as well as for the season for the Phantom Regiment. Our conductors, Josh Johnson, Brady Gaskin, and head conductor David Warren. Gentlemen, take a bow. Before we get to our special guest artists this evening, we'd like to give the front ensemble a chance to perform for you this evening. The front ensemble for the regiment will be performing Nietzsche by Keiko Abe. Sounded wonderful. Thank you. I'm going to be bringing our guest artist on stage in just a moment, but as I mentioned, we have a couple of calendar items that we want to remind you of. I just talked to you about the dress rehearsal that's going to take place this Saturday evening, June 13th, at Stillman Valley High School. It's a free event open to the public. You'll see the entire production from start to finish. And the actual show starts at 8:30 p.m., but you'll want to get there early because the stands do fill up very fast. Our home show, the show of shows, is on Friday, July 3rd, 4th of July weekend at 7:30 at Boylan High School. Besides the regiment, in this year's lineup, we have from Racine, Wisconsin, the Kilties, from Kalamazoo, Michigan, the Legends, from Nashville, Music City, Spirit of Atlanta from Atlanta, Georgia, from Canton, Ohio, the Bluecoats, and from Rosemont, Illinois, the Cavaliers. So you don't want to miss out on the show of shows. We are looking for volunteers to help out at the show of shows if you wish to do so. Check in at the Suvi truck at the top of the hill and make sure they get your name and contact information. We'd love to have you help us out at the show of shows. On Wednesday, July 8th, we will be performing in Metamora, Illinois, at the Metamora High School. That was a very nice show last year I was able to attend, and the Tour of Champions is going to be held at Northern Illinois University. These are the top 7 or 8 corps across the country performing at Husky Stadium in DeKalb on Sunday, July 12th. So if you would like more information or like tickets for any of those events, you can go to regiment.org/tickets. Our guest artist for this evening is jazz trombonist Harry Waters. Harry has travels nationally and internationally as a Jupiter artist, where he is constantly in demand as an artist and clinician at universities and high schools throughout the United States. His numerous Summit Records releases include the popular Love Songs and the 3 critically acclaimed Brothers discs with trumpeter Ken Waters. After graduation from the University of North Texas, Harry spent 4 years touring and recording with the renowned Dukes of Dixieland. While working at night on Bourbon Street, a sleep-deprived Waters attended the University of New Orleans by day, serving as the graduate assistant to Professor Ellis Marsalis. Mr. Waters has performed with Doc Severinsen, Al Hurt, Pete Fountain, Eric Kunzel, Kevin Mahogany, Wycliffe Gordon, Lou Rawls, and the Boston Brass. In addition, he has appeared as a featured soloist with numerous orchestras internationally, as well as the U.S. Army Orchestra. Harry will join the Phantom Regiment on Flight of the Bumblebee by Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov and Caravan by Juan Tizol. And in the Caravan number, he'll be joined on drums by a member of our percussion staff, Mr. Jonathan Tirado. But before we get to all of that, they would like to perform for you a tender love ballad. Ladies and gentlemen, Harry Waters.
Phantom Regiment. Oh my God! Woo! And did you notice that all these horns are Jupiter instruments? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thanks here too. I want to thank Jupiter and Rick DeYoung and all the great folks here at the faculty, and Dan Farrell and Christian Carrickner, and all the folks here to make this possible. J.D. Shaw and Paul Murtha, fabulous writers, and these amazing musicians. I got to tell you something. I woke up this morning at 4 a.m. to come from Washington, D.C. out to Rockford, and I was talking to my kids at breakfast, and I said, I'm going to go play with the Phantom Regiment tonight. It's a drum and bugle corps, and they're 5, 6, and 7. And my youngest, Caroline, she said, well, Daddy, what's a drum corps? And I said, you'll know when I get back. The only thing you need to know is these folks are the best. Absolutely. And I know that they've enjoyed community support here through the years, and it's all about education. The folks, what everyone here is learning, they're learning life skills that are going to stay with them throughout their entire career, all the way through. And I'll tell you what, thank you so much for supporting drum corps and music education. I'll tell you what, do you want to do a little bit of caravan here, folks? All right, let's do this. Here we go. And if you want to dance in the aisles, or actually at least on the stairs, I think the dance floor is open. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, as part of its mission, the Phantom Regiment administers educational camps over the summer besides many other clinics. The educational camps here in Rockford started back on May 30th, and we're now in the midst of 14 days of consecutive camps. We started with a color guard camp, a drum major camp, and then a drum camp, and now we're in the middle of our brass camp. And because we're in the middle of it, we invited those students to join us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, why don't you stand up and be recognized? Members of our brass camp. We have had over 200 students from across the country at Rockford University for these camps, and at this time, as we just did, we acknowledge the students from our brass camp. We have 2 more coming up, drum major camps next week at the University of Akron, and then at Frostburg State University in July. So if you'd like to learn more, you can go to regiment.org and learn more about that. Before we get to the 2015 show of the Phantom Regiment, we'd like to introduce you to a few members of the Corps. Now, I don't know if these musicians and other members know they're being called up on stage, but I was giving these names by the organizers of the regiment. If I could have on stage Steve Herman, Sam Hidalgo, Eileen Viral, Jario Bommelgay, Logan Nagai, and David Warren. Don't all rush the stage. Slowest one in the group. All right. Ladies first. Eileen Viral. Is that correct? Step forward, Eileen. So you've been, how many years have you been with the regiment?
This is my 4th year.
4th year. Color guard?
Correct.
Want to introduce the rest of your ensemble here?
39 beautiful women.
Stand up, ladies. So where are you from, Eileen?
I'm from Maryland.
From Maryland. So what made you say, I want to be a member of the Phantom Regiment?
Oh, I fell in love. It was more than just the choreo, it was more than just the music, it was the emotional connection that got me, and I was hooked from the first show I saw them.
And you told your parents no other corps is going to do?
Yeah, I was actually marching with another corps, and I was planning to go back, and I came to a camp just to learn to be around them, let alone get a contract. I just came for fun and to be taught by such amazing people, and they gave me a contract, and I said, yes, please. And I've been here ever since.
Terrific. Glad to have you, Eileen. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Shows how stupid I am. This is Sam. Samantha, correct? Samantha Hidalgo. How many years with the Corps, Sam?
This is my 3rd year.
And you play?
I play marimba.
And where are you from?
I'm from Omaha, Nebraska.
A good Midwestern gal, all right. So what brought you to the regiment?
I remember being in high school and my instructors gave me a CD of shows from the 2000s, and ever since then I've always listened to them, and I never even saw them in person before I came to audition, but I just fell in love with the music. So.
And I imagine over the 3 years you've made a lot of good friends.
I have. All these guys are my good friends today. So.
Except for Warren. Warren seems a little moody.
It's just a space sometimes.
Okay. That's why I'm interviewing him last. He kind of scares me. And you are Stephen Herman. Steve, I feel like Dick Clark, don't you? Isn't it? Names and ages. I'm not going to ask your age. Where are you from?
Chino, California.
Chino, California. Now, there'll be people who sit there and say, oh, you could have marched with the Blue Devils, you could have marched with... But you said no. Phantom Regiment, how come?
Well, funny enough, that was the original plan, but...
Anybody find that funny?
But fate led me here, and I couldn't imagine much anything else.
How many years have you been with the Corps now?
This is my 3rd year.
What do you play?
Fish.
Wonderful. So what do you like best about being, not only just in the regiment, but just being a member of a drum corps?
I just like waking up every day with my best friends.
Appreciate it. And just because she's in the audience, I like waking up with my best friend of 31 years in voice. Well, see, they told me about the accent, so it's Hario Bomolye. Bomolye. Okay. Now, we've heard Maryland, we've heard Omaha, we've heard Chino, California. I haven't even had a beer yet. The Netherlands?
Yep, I'm from the Netherlands, yeah.
So, what was your first introduction to the regiment in the Netherlands?
That's actually a funny story. My father got some old videotapes back home from one of his trips to the United States, and it had a Phantom Regiment on them, the '89 show, and that was my first experience with the
I remember as a reporter at Channel 13, I did a half-hour feature on that '89 show, and it was a terrific show. That's not the thing you watched, though, was it? No.
No, as soon as I was old enough, I got on YouTube, and I found all those amazing shows, and that's the reason why I'm here.
So how many years now?
This is my 3rd year with the Corps.
Now that's got to be a heck of a commitment to come all the way over from across the pond. So why you doing it?
That's always a hard question. I think I gotta stick with what Steven just said. It's just the people who we make you coming back every single year, year after year. It's worth the time and the money.
Wonderful. Mario, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I should also point out we also have members of the Corps from Germany as well as Japan this year as well. So I already know you're David Warren. So by process of elimination, you're Logan Nagai. Logan, where are you from?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, all right. So you've been with the Corps how many years?
This is my 2nd year.
Wonderful. So what brought you to Rockford, Illinois to want to march with the Phantom Regiment?
I had a very close friend that I knew through high school, and he was a member of the Corps last year, aged out, and when I watched the show, I just fell in love with it and had to come here.
So is it everything you thought it was going to be?
And more.
That's what we like to hear. So what are you looking forward to when you get on the road this year?
California's really nice, so that'd be nice. Nice weather there, so.
Very good. Thank you. And finally, David Warren. How many years now?
This is my 4th year.
4th year. And you're head conductor. How many years have you been head conductor?
2 years.
2 years. Okay. But you and I got to know each other 4 years ago, right? And he calls me sir, yes sir, no sir. My wife, no ma'am, yes ma'am. He won't be calling that to me anymore. David, you've been with the Corps 4 years now. Where'd you come from?
Georgia.
Okay. And you haven't regretted any minute you've been there?
No, sir.
What do you like most about it?
Well, I guess I'll have to go off what the other two said. Of course, it's being with these people every single day, but also just our volunteers, our staff, they're the most amazing people in the world. You won't find better people anywhere else.
I agree with that. Let's hear it for the staff as well. So as the head conductor, you're in charge of this group. What's the prediction for this year? We're going to end up this year?
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know we're going to put out a great show this season.
I don't doubt that. You do every year. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our members of the Phantom Regiment. I'll let them get back in position, and then it's my duty to inform you what the 2015 competitive program is this year. It's entitled City of Light. Just imagine you've been given only 24 hours to explore one of the most mysterious and exotic places on Earth, Paris. Just to mention the word and the world seems more passionate, more powerful, more exciting. trademark elan to breathe new life into the romance of this famous city. Jazz-age rhythms and timeless melodies cast a fresh and original spell, overflowing with the shadows and sunshine of Paris itself, also known as the City of Love. From the Champs-Élysées to Montmartre, nightclubs, from the beautiful gardens of Versailles to the great cathedrals, only Phantom Regiment can capture the dazzle and discord of this great city with a repertoire of music best suited to its full-throated sound and its full-throttle rhythms. The 2015 program repertoire includes I Love Paris by Cole Porter, Horoscope by Constant Lambert, Claire de Lune by Claude Debussy, An American in Paris by George Gershwin, Symphony No. 3, The Organ Symphony by Camille Saint-Saëns. Ladies and gentlemen, and for the encore, so I don't have to interrupt it, the encore this evening will be Elsa's Procession to the Cathedral from the opera Lohengrin by Richard Wagner. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2015 show of the Phantom Regiment, City of Light. your 2015 Phantom Regiment. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget our dress rehearsal is this Saturday night, June 13th, 8:30 p.m. at Stillman Valley High School. Free event, open to the public. Get there early so you find yourself a seat. And of course, our shows is on Friday, July 3rd, 7:30 p.m. at Boylan High School. For tickets and information, go to regiment.org. We'd also like to remind you as you leave this evening that there are concerts here at the Sinnissippi Band Shell every Tuesday and Thursday night throughout the summer. We'd especially like to take notice of the concerts on Tuesday nights, which feature the Rockford Wind Ensemble. The Rockford Wind Ensemble is a professional band that features a guest vocalist each week and is again this summer under the baton of Bill Peterson. Bill worked for many years as an instructor of the Phantom Regiment horn line and is back this year working with the Corps on the music side of things. Bill guarantees that the concerts are free, the setting is beautiful, and the band will play many of the very same notes that the Phantom Regiment uses. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Phantom Regiment, thanks for joining us for Music in the Park. Drive safely, enjoy the rest of your evening.